Oh, good morning, and welcome to Comics for Breakfast. I'm your host, Jason Mink. You know, few characters have seen their potential squandered quite like Simon Williams, aka Wonderman. For a guy strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Thor, well, he sure hasn't made much of himself. As a villain, he was a washout. As an Avenger, well, he was second-rate at best. Some folk will tell you that Simon was always a schnook and deserves no better, but I must respectfully disagree. From his origin as a failed businessman through his multiple deaths and rebirths, Simon has exhibited a humanity, a humility, and an honesty that few fictional characters can claim. Along the way, he's taken more than a few share of lumps, but like any hero worth his salt, he's gotten up, brushed himself off, and battled on. So grab your shades, your rocket belt, and your red safari jacket. It's time for breakfast.
Breakfast!
Wonderman first appeared in the pages of Avengers number 9, cover dated October of 1964. We're told he's destined to be one of the most provocative, exciting, and talked about characters of the year, which is a pretty big ticket to fill. Our story begins with disgraced businessman Simon Williams on trial for industrial espionage, specifically against competitor Tony Stark. Williams is bailed out of jail by this mystery blonde who offers him a chance of revenge against his former competitor. With nothing else to lose, Williams agrees. He's swept off to a mysterious compound deep in the jungles of South America. There, Williams meets his benefactor, the legendary menace Baron Zemo, along with the rogue Asgardians Amora the Enchantress and her charge, the Executioner. The nefarious Nazi subjects Williams to his Vita-Ray treatment. The procedure works quickly, transforming the once average Simon Williams into a blockbusting powerhouse. After running a gauntlet to test his new powers, Zemo's latest pawn is deemed ready. It is only then Williams learns the process is fatal unless he receives Zemo's weekly treatments, keeping him under the archvillain's thumb. Days later, a payroll robbery gains the Avengers' attention. Unexpectedly making his debut as Wonderman, Williams steps into the fray, helping to defeat Zemo's band. This gains the quick confidence of the Avengers, and before you can say, maybe we should think about this, they're considering inducting Wonderman into their ranks. However, after getting word that Zemo is involved in Williams' backstory, Cap grows suspicious. It is then the Enchantress weaves her spell, compelling the good captain to forget his reservations and help Williams. The other Avengers follow Cap's lead, and with that, Simon is in like Flynn. The team's scientists get cracking on Simon's problem, but neither Hank Pym nor Tony Stark can come up with a complete answer. It is then Zemo springs his plan, having Simon contact the team, claiming he is Zemo's captive. However, the disassembled team gets the message at different times. Iron Man opts not to wait for his teammates, with Cap and Giant Man trailing far behind. We discover the Wasp has been captured, a hostage to increase Zemo's advantage. Thor, born on the winds themselves, beats his teammates to Zemo's stronghold, getting a sock on the jaw from Simon for his troubles. The game on, the traitor battles his former teammates, dispatching them one by one. Thor falls first, followed by Giant Man, and then Iron Man. However, Shellhead hangs in long enough to free Thor from the rock under which he was pinned. Now loose, the Thunder God strikes back, eventually besting the powerful executioner. Zemo and the Enchantress flee the scene, leaving the Avengers to consider their fallen comrade. With his dying breath, Wonderman explains himself, redeemed in the eyes of his teammates. Simon slips away, with the Avengers powerless to help. More than a decade would pass before readers would learn that Simon Williams wasn't quite dead after all. In that time, the Avengers' robot adversary Ultron used Williams' brain patterns to model his own creation, the synthezoid entity known only as the Vision. Motivated by his brother's passing and the seeming theft of his identity by the Vision, brother Eric Williams dons the guise of scythe-handed criminal Grim Reaper and targets the team. Later, Simon's body is dug up, vanishing for a time, but reappearing in the most unlikely of places. Crashing an Avengers press conference, a seemingly reanimated Wonderman staggers out of the crowd, leveling a crooked finger at the Vision and insisting, "You stole my mind!" What follows is a wild jaunt through the swamps of New Orleans as the team follows the revived Williams back to Voodoo Hogan Black Talon. The team battles zuvembies, defeat the Talon, and Wonderman slowly begins recovering from his catatonic state. With nowhere else to go, Wondy accepts a position with the Avengers, but all is not well. Tensions between he and the Vision boil over with the two trading blows in Avengers number 158. It's a brief but memorable battle, one that's chock full of memorable character moments for both parties, setting in motion the events of our first book of the day. The Avengers number 160 sees the team recovering after their near defeat at the hands of Graviton. The Big Five depart on personal business, leaving Black Panther, Vision, Scarlet Witch, the Beast, and Wonder Man to clean up the mess. The group is fairly edged out after all the recent misery. Feeling uneasy, the Beast bounds off to tidy up the lab, but a burst of energy drives him back. To the group's horror, the Grim Reaper has returned. The Vision helpfully fills Simon and the reader in on events past. The reader has long blamed the Avengers for Simon's demise, at one point even offering the Vision the body of Captain America in a misplaced bid to revive his brother. This revelation does not go over well, with the Reaper zapping all of the team into submission. Once revived, the heroes find themselves wearing shock collars in a mock tribunal, with the goal of once and for all determining Simon's personship. We're treated to a harrowing breakdown of the events following Avengers number 9. The Black Panther, acting as counsel for the defendants, does his best to establish the two Avengers' individual autonomy, but the Reaper's mental instability makes any prospect of justice a dubious proposition. The Vision recounts what we know of his origin up to this point, confiding he is a synthetic being whose mind is based on the brainwave patterns of Wonder Man, inhabiting the form of Jim Hammond, the original Human Torch. The Black Panther makes the case the Vision is an independent being, citing his years of service to the Avengers and his marriage to the Scarlet Witch. The Grim Reaper dismisses this, as he feels his brother would not sully himself with a woman of Wanda's ilk. A desperate Reaper is willing to accept Simon's return, but the Panther points out something is not quite right with his fellow Avenger. With that, Simon takes off his goggles. His eyes are gone, replaced by crackling ionic energy. It's a freaky visual, and the reader can't help but feel for the poor guy. After all, he has no idea what's happening within his own body. That must be pretty disturbing. Using the shock collars he's placed on the team to control them, the Reaper immobilizes the Avengers until he can execute the Vision, but he hasn't counted on Simon being resistant thanks to his altered form. Wonder Man begins to battle with his brother, desperately trying to talk him down. However, the Reaper is simply too far gone. It's then revealed that it was he who paid the Black Talon to revive Simon's body, a situation he is now set to remedy. However, Simon isn't ready to lie down again anytime soon. He crushes the Reaper's scythe before mercifully knocking him unconscious. The Avengers wake in time to witness the battle's aftermath, leaving Simon to ponder some pretty big questions. While the return of Wonder Man had intrigued me, this was the first time that I really sat up and thought, hey, this guy's actually pretty cool. From the jump, Simon Williams was conflicted, pulled in multiple directions by forces greater than himself, but driven by conviction to do what was right at his own expense. Somehow, in spite of his phenomenal power, the stakes just seemed higher when it came to Wonder Man. After all, he'd seemingly died once before. That specter of mortality would haunt the character for years to come. Now, I bought this issue with my lunch money from a kid back at school. And if I was hungry that day, well, I managed to get over it. I mean, I had to have this comic, in large part thanks to the stunning George Perez artwork. Now, at the time, Avengers wasn't an all-star book, and the art could be hit or miss. But that's not the case here. Perez was really opening up at this point. His work is a joy to look at, the eye lingering over every detail-laden panel. Between that, his solid composition and top-notch figure work, and this book was a 10 out of 10 for me. And Simon Williams fans as well. However, there were rockier roads ahead. A burgeoning friendship with ex-X-Man Hank McCoy, a.k.a. The Beast, led to Simon briefly sporting this eyesore of a costume after his old outfit got trashed. For all his scientific acumen, it seems Hank was a washout in the fashion department, but Simon wouldn't look like a Christmas tree for long. Avengers number 167 saw the first appearance of the safari jacket costume, although little was made of it at the time. Hey, I noticed. I thought it was a great look. In fact, I went out of my way to show my mom, who, between stifling fits of the giggles, patiently explained to me that red safari jackets weren't exactly off-the-rack items where we shopped. God only knows what she thought of his big gold bracelets. But this new look was clearly part of a push on behalf of the creative team to give Simon both a distinct personality and a strong visual identity. After all, you can't have just any schmo on the Avengers. However, it was this very schmodom that affected Simon the most. Over the span of a dozen or so issues, readers were given some very definite insights into the character. In spite of his power, Wonder Man simply didn't believe in himself. Sure, he might be strong enough to take on the Avengers single-handedly, but it was his own doubt and indecision that would serve to defeat him in the end. The thought that at any time he might die again led to Wonder Man freezing up in battle, making poor decisions, and potentially becoming a liability for his teammates. Fortunately, with the support of the Avengers and the discovery of his own inner strength, Simon Williams would eventually get past his own self-imposed limitations. And what does a superhero do when he conquers his personal demons and really starts feeling his oats? Why, he goes to Hollywood. Wonder Man number 1 appeared in March of 1986. It was written by David Michelinie with pencils by Kerry Gamble and inks by Vince Colletta. Our tale begins on a film set with Simon shooting his big scene. However, the footage is deemed no good as the actor has allowed his eyes to turn red again. The lapse in concentration costs him a role on the daytime soap opera Secret Hospital, a job he sorely needed since leaving the Avengers. Banging the dressing room table in frustration, Simon inadvertently brings down a wall, allowing us another view of his alluring co-star. Hustling out of there before he can be hit with a bill, Simon splits for Avengers Mansion to grab a hot meal in the shower. In the process, he runs into the new Ant-Man, who's doing a little security work for the team. After a bit of small talk, Ant-Man heads inside, and Simon decides to take out his frustrations in the Avengers training room. Simon makes his way through the defenses fairly easily, but before he can battle a robot the size of Pittsburgh, Ant-Man appears in his civilian guise as Scott Lang. He clues Simon in about a job opportunity with Cordco, the sort of gig he'd be perfect for. After a bit of slapstick, Simon catches a flight to the Bahamas, where he meets his potential employer, Dr. Calvin Oakley. Oakley helpfully explains to both Simon and we humble readers how CORDCO is a premier research and development facility. Their purpose is to explore ideas other scientific communities might reject in their bid to both aid mankind and make a tidy profit. Subsequently, they employ your typical wackadoodle scientist types like Dr. Wheatley here. Desperate to keep his project of breaching other dimensions alive, Wheatley overpowers his device. This creates a rift, allowing hundreds of pint-sized monsters to pour through. All of the chaos activates the compound's alarms, alerting Dr. Oakley and Simon to the trouble. Simon rushes to contain the invaders, isolating two as leaders of the opposing tribes. When his attempts at diplomacy fail, he decides to get a little more hands-on. Using a nearby pipe to scoop up the miniature marauders, Simon manages to subdue a goodly number, but there are simply too many to stop at once. They drop a tower on him, with Simon and Belker the dog nearly being crushed. Simon dopes out the only way to get rid of the little boogers is to send them back to their home dimension, but that's easier said than done. He smashes his way back into the complex in Wheatley's machine, but has no idea how to turn it off. Using his brain for once, Simon decides instead of smashing the device, to simply pull the plug, the act of which sees the horde of half-pint hobgoblins vanish without a trace. This act of heroism lands him a job as head of security, but all is not well. Having gained confirmation his device actually works, Wheatley sneaks back into the sealed lab and plugs the thing back in again. A rift opens in the sealed lab, and a team is scrambled to deal with the issue, but Simon is unexpectedly paged. It seems there's an Avenger-level emergency in New York, and Simon's been called from the bench. Leaving his new employer behind, he jets to Manhattan and a state-of-the-art medical facility. It is there the other Avengers explain the situation. The Sandman has contracted cancer from the same radiation that gave him his remarkable powers. Driven mad at the thought of his impending demise, Sandy takes over the facility's experimental basement laboratory, intent on using the atomic pile to blow up New York. The only Avenger able to stand the radiation, Simon is sent in to stop Sandman. The two begin to scrap, but Simon is unsure how to fight a foe who can turn his body into living sand. In fact, Sandman seems to have the upper hand, pounding Wonderman repeatedly with his massive block-like fists. Indeed, Simon is completely stumped as to how to resolve the issue, with his great strength of no real use. Instead of a direct attack, Simon eventually smashes a wall open, ripping out a water conduit and reducing his foe to muck. And now the hard part begins, as Simon is forced to replace the pulled nuclear rods from the pile to prevent it from destabilizing. It's a nice little scene, whose tension is genuine specifically because Simon is not a super genius with all the answers. He's just one guy, trying his best. Simon rushes back to CORDCO, expecting certain disaster. However, to his surprise, everything is Jake. It seems Dr. Oakley was able to resolve the issue himself, with no super assistance needed. And while Simon is apologetic, he's told not to sweat it. After all, he's an Avenger, and those duties always come first. Simon loses his job at CORDCO, but gains the understanding, whatever he chooses to do, that he will always be a hero. This issue is a bit of goofy fun. It seemed that Simon's role in the Marvel Universe was now set, that of an everyman hero trying to live up to his legacy while building a life for himself day by day. Having Simon meet another second-rater, the new Ant-Man, made this one-shot even better. Now, at the time, it felt like the beginning of a new Marvel age, one that I was lucky enough to be in on the ground floor of, and while things didn't work out exactly as I'd hoped, this issue was a nice high-water mark for Simon, who'd soon see things take a darker turn. I eagerly snapped up the first West Coast Avengers limited series. And why not? After all, I was the target audience. As a longtime reader of the Avengers title, I was all in on the idea of two teams to follow. And as icing on the cake, well, look who decided to join. After being sidelined in the main Avengers title, Simon was back, joining team leader Hawkeye, his new bride Mockingbird, the enigmatic werewoman Tigra, and pre-war machine James Rhodey Rhodes, sporting the old Iron Man armor. The first WCA miniseries was like a blast of air conditioning after a long hot summer day, a chill course correction to the overheated stodginess of the core Avengers title. And while I didn't completely defect to the California team, for a while they were certainly my preferred choice, thanks in part to the sharp writing of Roger Stern and the knockout artwork of Bob Hall and Brett Breeding. Happily, the West Coast Avengers miniseries was a success. Sadly, this success didn't translate over when the team was given their own monthly book. With the change in creative teams came a change in tone, and suddenly the book wasn't cool but cumbersome, tripping over its own feet with uninspired stories and lackluster artwork. As this was Simon's main venue, the character certainly suffered, even more so when the Vision and Scarlet Witch joined the team. While well-intentioned, the brotherly relationship between Vision and Simon quickly grew tedious. The constant re-exploration of interpersonal relationships, coupled with the overuse of characters like the Grim Reaper, put a real crimp in the swinger hero's style. Readers had long waited to see Simon get his head together, but now that he had, life was peaches and cake, and that was boring. Wundy treaded water in the West Coast Avengers for a while, but in 1991, Marvel decided to go all in and give the guy his own title, which I couldn't find. It was an admirable leap of faith, but one that came perhaps too late. While the creators did their best to make the stories compelling, the title never quite caught fire. The Wonderman book soldiered on until its cancellation with issue number 29. However, Wundy wouldn't be homeless for long. While his former team, the West Coast Avengers, had broken up, the gang wasn't about to throw in the towel just yet. Under the guidance of Iron Man, the former WCA became Forceworks with Simon as a first draft pick. Unfortunately for Wonderman, well, he got blowed up. Real good, like in the first issue. An inauspicious start for a new chapter, to be sure. Because it's comics, well, eventually Simon returned to life. Again. For a while, his existence was tied to the unpredictable powers of the Scarlet Witch, who could manifest the fallen hero in times of great need. Soon enough, however, Wonderman returned to life on his own. Turns out energy can't be destroyed, only transformed. Sadly, no one has been able to transform Simon Williams into anything resembling a success in the past 20 years. He might have been Marvel's Superman, but instead, Wonderman languishes at the bottom of the pile. While Ant-Man has been in multiple comics, cartoons, and even helms his own mini-franchise, Simon can't even make it to Disney+. It was an ignoble destiny for a character with so much to offer. Simon's great power is tempered by his balanced nature. While a character like Thor or Iron Man might make a decision based on tactical factors alone, Simon considers the human aspect. He's just as likely to try and talk his way out of a situation than throw hands, with his near invulnerability, uneasy assurance that he can err on the side of caution. Instead of being an overly powered non-entity who thinks with his fists, he is in fact a well-nuanced and balanced character whose potential remains static due to a company that's never quite understood what to do with him. It really makes you wonder, man. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider purchasing a mug, a t-shirt, or one of the other fine items that you can only find at the Old Guys Who Like Old Comics swag shop. All proceeds go towards Simon getting a new headstone because, well, you never know. I'm Jason Mink, and I hope to see you next Sunday at breakfast.